In the heart of a bustling city, there lurked a sinister presence on the streets. Beneath the guise of an ordinary Uber driver, Charles Wilkins, an unassuming man with a haunting secret, carried out a malevolent plan that would send shivers down the spines of those who dared to enter his vehicle. It was a cold, foggy night when Emily, a young woman in her mid-20s, hailed an Uber after a late night at work. Little did she know that her life was about to take a nightmarish turn. As she stepped into the car, she noticed Charles's cold, emotionless eyes in the rearview mirror, sending a chill down her spine. Ignoring her unease, Emily provided her destination and sat back. The streets became eerily quiet as the car navigated through dimly lit alleys and desolate roads. Emily's anxiety grew with each turn, but she tried to convince herself that it was merely her imagination playing tricks. However, when the car suddenly veered off the main road and into an isolated forest, her heart began to race with dread. "Excuse me, I think you made a wrong turn," Emily stammered, her voice trembling. Charles's reply was chillingly calm. "No need to worry, my dear. I have a shortcut that'll get us there faster." Emily's instincts screamed at her to escape, but the car's doors were locked. Panic set in as the forest swallowed them whole, and her phone displayed "No service." As the car came to a stop, Emily's fear reached its peak. Charles stepped out of the car, revealing a small, eerie cabin hidden among the trees. He opened the rear door, and a sinister grin crept across his face. "Welcome to your final destination." Terrified, Emily tried to flee, but Charles grabbed her by the wrist with a strength that seemed inhuman. He dragged her into the cabin, which reeked of decay and death. Inside, Emily saw evidence of others who had met a similar fate. Her heart pounded as she realized the full extent of Charles's depravity. "You're not the first, nor will you be the last," Charles said, his voice dripping with malice. "I've been doing this for years, making my passengers disappear without a trace." Emily's pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears as Charles prepared to carry out his grisly ritual. She knew that her only hope of survival was to outwit her captor. In a moment of desperation, she lunged at him, grabbing a nearby object to defend herself. The struggle was intense, but Emily managed to break free, delivering a fierce blow to Charles's head. In the chaos, she fled from the cabin, running blindly through the dark forest. With each step, the terror seemed to close in around her. The chilling howls of unseen creatures echoed through the night, heightening her sense of dread. But Emily was determined to escape, and she ran until her legs could carry her no further. Eventually, she stumbled upon a small road where a kind passerby found her and called for help. The police arrived at the forest cabin, but by then, Charles had vanished without a trace. They discovered the grim remains of his previous victims, but the serial killer himself remained elusive. Emily survived that night, haunted by the knowledge of the evil that lurked in the darkness. The city would forever remember the horror of the Uber driver serial killer, a malevolent force that preyed upon the innocent, making passengers disappear without a trace. And though Charles remained at large, Emily's survival became a beacon of hope for those who encountered the sinister driver in the future, a reminder that courage and determination could defy even the most malevolent of horrors. As news of the Uber driver serial killer spread throughout the city, the police launched a massive manhunt to capture the elusive Charles Wilkins. Realizing the potential danger posed by an imposter masquerading as a rideshare driver, the police collaborated closely with Uber to implement stringent safety measures. Uber cooperated fully with the authorities, providing them with all available information about Charles's account and rides. They revealed that Charles had passed their standard background checks, providing a fake identity and forged documents. It was clear that the killer was cunning, leaving no trace of his true self behind. As the investigation intensified, the police analyzed surveillance footage from various locations where Charles had picked up his victims. But in every video, his face was obscured or hidden beneath a cap and sunglasses. It was as if he knew how to evade the cameras intentionally. Detective Sarah Reynolds, a seasoned investigator leading the case, felt a gnawing frustration as she reviewed the evidence. She had never encountered a criminal so adept at concealing his identity. The killer left no digital footprint, no known associates, and no connection to his true identity. He was a ghost, striking terror into the hearts of innocent passengers while remaining untraceable. With the help of Uber, the police tried to identify potential patterns or commonalities among Charles's victims. They conducted interviews with survivors and analyzed data from the rides he had taken. But the chilling reality was that his victims appeared to be chosen at random, making it nearly impossible to predict his next move. As days turned into weeks, the fear within the city grew, and people became hesitant to hail a ride-share. Uber, determined to prioritize the safety of its customers, introduced a series of new safety features. They implemented an advanced facial recognition system for drivers, conducted more extensive background checks, and reinforced protocols to verify driver identities. Despite the joint efforts of law enforcement and Uber, Charles remained one step ahead. He continued to vanish into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of terror. The case began to take a toll on Detective Reynolds, who was haunted by the victims' faces and the knowledge that the killer could strike again at any moment. One fateful night, as the police pursued yet another lead, they received an anonymous tip. A concerned citizen reported witnessing a suspicious individual loitering around a local gas station, matching Charles's vague description. The police responded swiftly, surrounding the area in a covert operation. The suspect was apprehended, but to everyone's dismay, he turned out to be a homeless man with no connection to the crimes. It was as if Charles could predict their moves and throw them off his trail. Frustration grew within the police force, but Detective Reynolds refused to give up. She became consumed by the case, working tirelessly day and night, haunted by the unsolved mystery that eluded her grasp. Months passed, and the city's fears slowly receded. Uber continued to enforce strict safety measures, and the police remained vigilant, though the search for Charles had become more passive. Then, one day, a breakthrough occurred when an undercover officer noticed a suspicious online post. It was a comment on an obscure forum discussing the recent Uber driver killings. The language and style seemed oddly familiar to Detective Reynolds, who had studied the killer's taunting messages before. Through meticulous investigation, the police traced the digital breadcrumbs back to a new alias that Charles was using. They found him hiding in a rundown apartment on the outskirts of the city. On the night of his capture, as the police surrounded the building, a chilling calm hung in the air. As the door to Charles's apartment was kicked open, he turned around to face Detective Reynolds with that same sinister grin she had seen in pictures. The nightmare was finally over, and Charles Wilkins, the Uber driver serial killer, was taken into custody. The city heaved a collective sigh of relief, knowing that justice would be served for the victims and their families. The police's collaboration with Uber had proved invaluable, leading to the eventual capture of the cold-blooded murderer. It was a testament to the power of partnership and determination in the face of unspeakable evil. Though the scars of the horror remained, the city moved forward, knowing that they had prevailed against darkness, united in their commitment to ensure safety for all.